right, this is probably one of my favorite ways and things to teach about how to overcome objections, especially when calling for sale by owners and expired listings, canceled listings. Nothing has been better than using this one tool to get past what I call the choppy waters of the conversation. Now, you know the drill. If you find value out of this, if you like it, if it helped you out, if you got an extra deal about it, you had a conversation that went better because of this, just make sure that you subscribe, like this video, drop a comment, tell us about how it worked out for you. Surprisingly, you might find this interesting. I actually had one of my real estate agents tell me that Agree and Pivot changed his life. So choppy waters is that first part of the conversation when you're talking to an expired or a for sale by owner. We're just gonna use expired for now, but we can go, other videos we'll talk about for sale by owners specifically, but they're different people, right? So we're gonna talk about expired listings today in specific. Now, this is a 3-phase part, okay? Choppy waters, and then there's 2 other phases that I teach about how to get through those conversations all the way to the appointment. There's strategy in the 3 phases. This is phase 1, okay? So phase 1 is the initial part of the phone call. It's the choppy waters. It's when you're getting those quick, short, uninterested responses when you're talking on the phone. When you're talking on the phone with a potential listing that has had their home expire off the market. So in those conversations, okay, we want to take the objection. We just want to take the objection. Like we want the objection to come because we know how to handle it. And what we're going to do with every objection, I'm going to make this super simple for you. You're going to agree and you're going to pivot. And the pivot, this is key, the pivot is another question, okay? So I'm going to talk about those questions in specific. But we're going to agree. Like, does it matter what the objection is? Hey, you know, Ramon, all you real estate agents are terrible and, you know, I never would work with them. Hey, like, dude, I get it, man. You're probably getting a bunch of phone calls, people telling you all this different stuff. Like, I'd be super frustrated if I was in your position too. I'm agreeing. Hey, no, I'm not interested in selling. The market's shit right now. Hey, you know what? Yeah, man, the market wasn't as good as it was last year. Things have definitely changed. And then you're going to ask a question, right? So the whole key is to not go into the objection, right? Like I had a client, one of our agents the other day, I asked them, hey, when somebody gives you an objection like this, hey, yeah, you know what? The interest rates are too high. People just aren't buying right now. And I said, well, what would you say to that? And he was saying that he would start talking about the interest rates. And I'm like, no, don't do that. Don't go try to create a combative environment like you're wrong, I'm right. We don't want to create any friction there, right? We want to just take the objection, eat it, pivot off of it, and keep the conversation going. But the reason why we agree is because we're letting them know we heard them, right? Like, you're not wrong. You ever heard the saying, the client is always right? That's kind of what we're going for here. So I'm not saying they're wrong ever. I'm just like, yeah, hey, I get it. Like, I agree. Yeah, for sure. It doesn't matter what they say. And then the question I'm going to use is going to be something that asks me around or gets me the answer I'm looking for around motivation, right? Because in these calls, like we're calling it expired listing, we just want to know, yeah, do you still want to sell your home or not? Like, that's my question I want to know. But if I get on the call and just ask that, like, am I going to get the response I'm looking for? I don't know. So for example, you call up a for sale by owner or an expired listing, and you can do whatever opener you want. Hey, is this so-and-so, the owner of XYZ Street? Yeah, this is him. Hey, this is Ramon. I was just calling. Hey, I saw your property came off the market. I was just curious if you still had plans to sell it, right? Oh no, I'm not looking to sell anymore. You know, we're not going to take it off the market. We're done. Hey, no, I completely understand. Yeah, I mean, I saw it was listed for 120 days. I would probably want to pull it too if it was on the market for a couple months. Hey, but just out of curiosity, I saw you had the property listed for $600,000. Hypothetically, if there was an offer out there for $600,000, is that something you would still entertain? Do you see how I just took the objection, ate it, agreed with it, and then pivoted off? But I didn't pivot off talking more about how they don't want to sell anymore. Why not? You know, it's a good time to sell. Did you know X, Y? I didn't do any of that. I just agreed, and then I pivoted with a question. And my question is, and this is a great one for expired. So if you're an expired listing person, write this down. This is a really good one. Or if you're just learning for the first time, this one gets the conversation going every time. I always look at what the property was listed for, and then I say, hey, I saw you had your property listed for 500,000 previously. Just out of curiosity, if there was an offer out there for 500,000 floating around, is that something you would entertain? Right? Do you see how I'm asking, hey, do you still want to sell your home? But I'm doing it with a question that's much lighter. Okay, so that's the agree and pivot in a nutshell. So remember, keys to the agree and pivot. Number one, agree with everything. Like you almost can't screw that part up if you just agree. Never disagree. Don't create a combative environment. Don't create a you're wrong, I'm right scenario, right? That's not going to get you anywhere. That's going to get you a click. So agree. And then your pivot is going to be another question that gets you further in the conversation, but you're positioning it in a way that's not very straight up, like it's not very in your face. You need to make a decision. And so agree and pivot you might have to do a couple times in the conversation, right? It might not be just the first thing and then all of a sudden the conversation goes great, right? Because I could ask that same question, hey, hi, I saw you had your property listed for 600,000 before. Hypothetically speaking, if there was an offer out there for 600 floating around, is this something you'd entertain? Yeah, I mean, I guess we'd entertain it, and but we're not putting it back on the market. So, I mean, do you have a buyer? Hey, no, I don't have a buyer, but I'm always looking for properties that are off market because I don't know if you knew or not, but inventory is still super low across the Phoenix area, right? Pause, listen, see what they say. Don't fill silence with BS gibberish and bullshit because you're thinking like, I need to say something because I'm afraid of the awkward silence. You end up talking yourself into a circle and you don't even know what you're saying anymore. So you want to pause. And one of the things you can do at this point is say, hey, to be honest with you, I don't call every expired listing. But this one, number one, you have a beautiful home, but this one really stood out to me. Because I see the price looks right, looks like it was marketed okay. Why don't you think it's sold? Do you see how I just did another agree and pivot? You just told me, yeah, do you have a buyer? I just said, hey, no, I don't have a buyer, but this is why I'm looking for him. And then I asked another question. And the question, I soften it up, right? Because what I want to know is do they want to sell? And so if I can find out why it didn't sell, I'm getting further in the conversation, but the way I'm positioning it is softer, okay? And so that's going to lead you into the second part of the conversation, which, again, there's another video for that, but we're going to recap agree and pivot real quick. So agree and pivot. Any objection, you just agree with it and you move on. Do not go into the objection further. So do not, if it's interest rates, don't have an argument about interest rates. If it's, the market's not great, don't have a conversation about why the market is great. Just agree. And then you're going to pivot off of the objection, and the pivot is going to be a question that drives further towards motivation. One of the easiest ways for you to visualize this is I always use the bowling ball analogy, right? You ever been to a bowling alley and the little kids, they have the little bumpers that come up, right? So they don't gutter the ball every single time, or the bowling ball. Your client's the bowling ball and you're the bumpers, okay? Because they're gonna just roll that ball into the freaking gutter the first couple sentences. They're gonna try to gutter the conversation. Left, right, they're gonna try to gutter it. Your job is to push them back, right? Back into the lane, back into the lane, back into the lane, bounce, 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 all the way till a strike. And the strike is you setting an appointment. But that's a very easy way for you to visualize how you want these conversations to go. And the agree and pivot is the bumper, right? When they they're trying to gutter it, they hit the bumper and then you push them right back in center line to keep going down the lane. So that's one way to visualize it. It's helped me a lot. But agree and pivot, I also have a cheat sheet for agree and pivot with some other scripts to help you get past that first part of the conversation. So if you want those, just drop a comment below and I'll make sure and get it to you. And hopefully agree and pivot changes your life too.